prediction markets, I think would be much closer to net positive if it wasn't just pure sports betting, which they kind of are right now. But having said that, it looks like you need some type of degen mechanism, which is allowing the equivalent of parlays on these platforms to provide liquidity for markets that would never exist. Like, why would you take the other side of a $30,000 bet? It's like, wow, this guy seems really confident that Maduro is not going to be the leader of Venezuela by January 31. I wonder what they know. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, some of these markets are crazy. I'm just on Polymarket. There's one for the closing price of Logan Paul's Pikachu.
yeah.
Which again is a crazy.
It's on the front page. I'm on it right now too.
Crazy mechanism for insider trading too.
What's the volume on that?
2.5 mil.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So he could take the other side of that and sell it to a friend, right? Yeah.
Right.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Jack Butcher, Trung Phan, Bilal Zaidi. Happy 2026, lads. How's it going, fellas? How you feeling?
Happy New Year's.
Good vibes this
New
year
Year,
to
boys.
start off. We're in Q2 of the century. How you guys feeling about that, boys?
Q2. Yo, how is the Q2 performance going to be?
I appreciate Trung giving that laugh because I just definitely said it about 30 seconds ago when I was recording on my AirPods.
Well, Bilal, you're going to laugh. So this is the Inside Baseball. That actually was a legit laugh, but it wasn't because Bilal said that. It's because I pulled up the meme of the week and I had to laugh at that. Here's a meme of the week.
What is meme of the week? We got a few. Oh, yeah. This is the best Kanye tweet of all time.
Okay, why is this the meme of the week, though? Did you guys... Okay, listen, we got to talk about it, right?
Go on, read it out for people
this
listening.
is the greatest tweet ever. You know, from somebody that we probably shouldn't be talking about their tweets anymore. It's from Kanye.
No,
but this is 2011.
Tweet.
This is pre his interest in the Third Reich. So he writes, I hate when I'm on a flight and I wake up with a water bottle next to me. Like, oh, great. Now I got to be responsible for this bottle of water. You're probably wondering, what does this post from 2011 have to do with meme of the week? Well, you all probably saw the photo of one Nicolas Maduro on a American helicopter being transported from Caracas, Venezuela to New York. We're not going to talk politics here. All I know is this. One of the most viral memes and tweets I saw was somebody taking that Kanye post and then quote retweeting the picture of Maduro in the Nike sweatsuit holding a bottle of water. Did you guys see that when that one went viral?
I did see that. Yeah, he's wearing his Nike Tech.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The memes are out of control. They just war. And we, any other year we'd be saying, well, how can you be talking about memes with such geopolitical implications? Well, have you scrolled through the official White House account, people?
Yo, let's just do it, boy. 25 seconds.
On the day that this happened,
video.
When they extracted the leader at the time of Venezuela, let's just say a communist dictatorship, the White House official account was posting the most out of control meme videos.
I'm gonna share it right now. Here we go. Let's go. Share sound.
This is a very NIA
you
thing,
need
right?
Sound for
this is 2026. This is 2026. This is
actually, a kickstart the year.
Don't play the sound because YouTube might throttle it.
Oh, it's fine. All right, cool.
Yeah, YouTube might crush it.
I feel like it's right because we'll get demonetized, which we don't even really do.
No, they won't even, they'll restrict the viewing of the actual video.
Because just so people should go and watch it because the sound hits with it.
So the social intern writes, if you don't know now, you know. Maduro a few weeks ago saying,
it's a Biggie Smalls tune, yeah?
Yeah. Don't come get me, Rubio.
Coward.
And then they got him and they're playing Biggie Smalls. I mean, this is ridiculous. The slow motion of DJT walking out. So
I had to check if this was the real White House account, and it is. It's official.
Dude, they were sending. They did one of him as Maximus from Gladiator. I also thought that was satire. This is the official White House account, and in NIA we talk about edge internet related stuff. This is just how communications is happening in 2026. It's
Who do you
crazy.
think's responsible? Who is there? Like an intern? Is this a full-on communication strategy?
From my understanding, it's an under 30. It's an under 30 somebody that they scooped out of. The Bane like Dark Knight joke is like, I was born like you're like a tourist here. I was born in this. It was like a guy that was in the muck of a Twitter right-wing posting that they just plucked out of the internet and put in charge of the official White House account.
Have you ever DM'd with the White House account, either of you?
I have never DM'd with the White House account.
Feels like...
But I would not be shocked if we were a couple degrees removed from whoever that
Oh,
posted.
definitely.
No doubt.
Definitely.
We're not
all
okay.
right.
We're not going to talk politics here, but we will talk something for NIA. Is you guys probably saw this
Well,
also.
Trunk, let me just give people the preview of what we're going to do, yeah? Because we got prediction market, insider trading, but related to this Venezuela story. We obviously don't need to break down the geopolitical implications of that, but
Everybody must
talk
know at
about
this
that.
point the broad outlines.
Yeah, exactly. Energy related to that. And then a few highlights from CES, that's always in January. Boston Dynamics robots, NVIDIA autonomous, they had a big
Everything.
announcement around that. Lego Smart Brick is quite interesting as well. And then we'll see, we've got a few others in here. Maybe OnlyFans visas. We'll see if we get to that one.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on.
Oh,
go
and
ahead.
the
What were you
viral
gonna say?
DoorDash and the viral, not DoorDash, viral delivery app article that a lot of people probably also heard
yeah.
about. These all have internet implications, but I'll just talk about this part because so we've actually talked about prediction markets here last maybe a month or 4 or 6 weeks ago, but we didn't get Jack's take on it. Jack was away that day. So the broad outlines is this. Again, many listeners probably saw this also. Somebody on Polymarket bet that 30 to 40,000 that Maduro would be out as a Venezuelan leader. I think it was either by the end of January or by the end of December. Something crazy. It was under 10% on Friday. It was under 10% on Friday. So recording on Tuesday. Obviously, the insane extraction of Maduro happened on Saturday. So that person got paid out, I think, 10x. I think they made 400,000 on 30,000 bet. So Bilal had brought up a couple weeks ago a Google insider was making money on betting, what was Google's top search term of the year. And then people were getting really upset about that with like, is this insider trading? And what we had kind of discussed was, well, it's, this is not being treated as a security, right? So like if this was under SEC, so these prediction markets were under SEC a supervision, an oversight, it'd be like insider trading, like if you had a material, non-public information for a stock. But this is a prediction market, and we've joked about it. Everyone's seen that meme where, the Scooby-Doo meme where you take off the hood. So on the face, it says prediction market, and you just take off the hood. Underneath, it says gambling. So like, that's basically where we are. So I'll put it out here. Jack, because we haven't heard from him on this. Doesn't have to be specific to the Venezuela situation. But do you think prediction market insider trading is A, similar to stock insider trading, and B, should it be regulated? So, because there are arguments both sides. Jack.
Well, the second question you answer first is like, how do you regulate it? It's like you would have to basically, if it feels like you have to change the conditions or what can actually be set up as a market, and that's like an uncontainable thing at this point, would be my first instinct on it. And then I'm sure there's like very articulate quotes on this, but like the nuance, even in the idea of insider trading, I find pretty fascinating. Is like the textbook example of it would be like, like billions seen, like how many chicken, like what's the, like there's a briefcase of information that's going from this place to the other place and only one person knows what's in the briefcase. Obviously, like the gradient of understanding of something is like way more nuanced than that in markets in general. Like even like the information hedge funds have, that was another billions example, I think, is like satellites above retail stores that show you how many cars are in the car park, right?
Right.
Your dad doesn't know what that is, but they pay for that information so they understand it.
Jack, let me add two things because you brought billions. We have to say the exact line. So when it was real insider trading, like you said with the chicken and the bags, he went to Axel and he'd be like, "Are you certain?" And the guy said, "I am not uncertain." So, but to Jack's point, you brought up such a great, like how to tease this out. There's clearly material, non-public information, and then public information that you've been able to gather by paying a satellite company for their images, right? So like that
And
edge we're allowing.
there's like, yeah, but I think there's also like a version of that in like information you can glean from people that have more information than you that may not be the exact, spreadsheet, but that degree of understanding, like your proximity to the information does change how much you are willing to. And this is like, what's the Buffett quote about not knowing what you're doing? It's like is that a
circle of
diversification?
competency? Circle of competency?
No, it's something about I'll look it up when we get to
all
the
right,
next
so
bit,
let me Jack, hold on. Why don't you look it up now and I'll keep working through kind of what you're heading
Jack,
towards.
is it risk comes from not knowing what you're doing?
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, which is implying like you don't invest in things that are not going to increase in value over time, which means you have enough information and certainty, and like anything outside of that is gambling. There's a million people have articulated that idea really well, which is like, if you don't have a thesis or you have not like gamed out the factors that are going to increase the value of the thing, then you're just like literally tossing a coin, or you're going into a gambling shop and like randomly choosing a horse's name, right?
Well, let's give the Michael Saylor line. You know enough to hurt yourself. Similar idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess these things are useful, right? To collapse these behaviors into a label. And then I think the one thing that is true about prediction markets, or the first iteration of prediction markets, is they're like these crypto native protocols, which also make it possible for you to participate pseudo anonymously or anonymously, which is very different than buying a stock. Right? You need a social security number, an address, a bank account, and then that transaction is recorded against all of your your legal information. I think the vector for quote unquote insider trading in prediction markets is there's way less risk on that front too, right? Like you could spin up a wallet. Like there's ways in which people can participate in that without revealing their identity. I think that is probably happening in traditional markets, but the cost and the sophistication required to do that is much higher cost than these crypto native prediction market protocols. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. So are you saying then it's a different type of insider trading? Like the effort involved? Is that
no?
Part
I'm
of
not.
it?
So I'm saying it's. I guess I'm saying it's the same thing. I guess the cartoon definition of insider trading, I think, is like probably a very slim number of actual instances of what would fall under the definition. And then this Brian Armstrong thing, I don't know if you said that in the intro, but he was on some podcast recently talking about prediction markets. And this is, I don't know if this is a verbatim quote, but it's the general sentiment was, if you want truth about the world, then an insider is the only path. You want the admiral betting on the Suez Canal opening because that's the only way to know the truth. So I feel like that is like, I don't know, a more broad commentary on like how markets work. But I guess prediction markets they're basically creating maybe shorter term or more, there's like more finality in the outcome. So it's not like, oh, I think Tesla and electric cars are going to get more popular over time, and I can point to all of this information that is like supporting that trend. That's like one way to predict something. You can have varying degrees of information about that outcome versus a prediction market where like, is somebody going to go and like capture this guy and put him on a plane? There's obviously a certain number of people that know for sure that is going to be the case. Like even the Tesla outcome, even if you had the numbers, you're still betting on something that has already happened, right? So prediction market is like a completely different animal in my mind. That's like it changes the nature of the bet in a way that even in regard to stock, right? It's like, will the price of Tesla be X tomorrow? Somebody could actually have like a different level of information on that based on like They know some article is coming out or some story is going to break, or they have literally the ability to move the price of that thing. Like the granularity of the prediction market is way more, like it invites way more of that than like what's the value of a company over X amount of time. So to compare the two is difficult for that reason, I think. And then obviously the permissionless nature of like both making the markets and participating in them, to me, it's like cats out of the bag type situation, very similar to like a social media type thing where you're like, how do you control what people say? You can't. How do you control what people make markets about and bet on a long enough time scale? Feels like you can't do that either.
That was great, Jack. I was just going to add my point of view that just the original question, which is, should there be, laws around insider trading essentially for prediction markets? And the summary I'd say is they kind of already are, but they're very loose. So there's differences between like Kalshi has there's two layers. One is like a government, of the land, US versus UK versus whatever, legal, at the country level or state level, whatever. And then there's the policy of the platform itself, right? So it's like Kalshi or Polymarket should have their own rules to ensure the integrity of a fair, in air quotes, market. So I think there's two layers. I think Kalshi already has, from what I'm reading here, explicitly bans insider trading for decision makers influencing outcomes, whereas Polymarket has fewer internal rules, though that may change.
Well, that's also an infrastructure thing, right? Kalshi is CTFC, like it's not a crypto app. So you're
exactly. So you have to log in with a real.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good point.
It's regulated by to clarify what Jack's saying, it's regulated by the Commodities Future and Exchange Commission. Like
it is essentially the same set of rules as like a Robinhood or whatever else, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I think just zooming out, like there's always, like you said, an edge, like for the people who are making abnormal returns in markets, like you said, the billions example, whether they're counting sheep in a field or parking lot with satellites, whatever they're doing, there's a blurry line. And actually, I'm just started rewatching last season of Industry because the new one's coming out next week. That'll be fun as well. It comes up in that without any spoiler alerts, like if someone's in a bathroom and hears something they're not supposed to hear and then goes and trades on it, like that's clearly obviously inside, that's a legal thing in the bank setting. But in this case, like people who are working on Google Gemini, right? Let's say they go onto Polymarket, that's a lot more gray because they can say, well, I've used Gemini before the rest of the world has. We're about to launch this thing. You don't actually know the reception of it yet, but you've seen it in action. You can make a comparison.
That's a good point, actually.
That's like a little bit more. You don't actually know necessarily. Whereas, for example, someone within the inner circle of Trump betting on him them doing what they did in Venezuela, that's obviously very different.
That's a good one, Bilal, because imagine like if prediction markets didn't exist, but you were working on Gemini and you just increased your position in Google. Yeah, that would not be seen as a bad thing at all, right? It's just like I'm betting on.
That's a great point.
Because I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
Well, there is like normal rules around when you're allowed to sell the stock. I don't know about buying. I've forgotten because I don't think I was ever like buying extra at the time, but.
I know if you're like C-suite or something, you can't be.
Yeah, you have to file particular forms.
Yeah.
There's a saying, right? Is like if you buy a stock, there's only one reason you buy it. It's because you expect it to go up. But if you sell a stock, there's actually many reasons you might want to sell a stock.
That's true.
It's not only because you think it's going to go down.
Yeah, you might need tax loss harvest. You need liquidity.
But if you buy a stock, there's only one reason. You're buying. Unless you're a masochist.
Unless you just keep buying Bitcoin
at
guys, 100 million at a time.
No. You're buying it for your perpetual dividend on encrypted energy.
To preserve your energy. Yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, hold on here. Let me throw something out there. I love everything that's been brought to the table. I want to focus a little bit more on the Venezuela thing and then get you guys' thoughts on it. So a big thing about prediction markets that we've talked on, again, that hasn't been touched on today, is that 90% of the volume on prediction markets now is sports. And a lot of the negative energy around prediction markets is that it's basically just turning into FanDuel or DraftKings, it has a regulatory arbitrage. Because right now, FanDuel and DraftKings have to go state by state. And I think it's like 38 states in America now allow sports gambling. But because Kalshi is framed as a futures product under the CTFC, it can go national already. And that's exactly what's happening. Right? And like,
Wrong. Do you know Kalshi, Robinhood now has prediction markets?
Yeah, so Robinhood
is it the same
right?
as Kalshi then?
I don't know if they partnered with one of them. But the point is, Kalshi's offering now what they call combos, which are just prop bets. And everybody's like, hold on a second. It's like, why do we need prop bets on prediction markets? No, sorry.
Trung, what's a prop bet? Because
I mean parlays.
Okay.
An akka.
Yeah, accumulator. We
and
all
for
like
people
a
that
multiple.
Don't know, is these are the money
multiple.
makers on FanDuel and DraftKings, where you try to put 5 or 6 bets together.
Long
Every time you
odds.
do that, the odds. So you get like whatever. You'll say
You go
Aaron
back
Rodgers,
to probability class, Trung, but
Exactly,
you times
right?
versus
Aaron
plus.
Rodgers-
Yeah.
you do Aaron Rodgers throws for 300 yards. You see cheerleaders by halftime on the screen. The Steelers win, and then
In the post-match
LeBron.
conference, they say this sequence of words.
Words, yeah.
Exactly. Right, so like you'll get those type of tickets will get whatever, called 20, 30 to 1 odds, but the real odds are like 100 to 1. So like you're getting completely screwed running parlays, but it's so much fun to gamble on, right? So anyways, the point is this, back to prediction markets, 90% of volume is on sports. And this has happened in the last 3 months or so. And these guys are reaching billions of dollars of volume now. So they're basically, a system is what it does. So right now, today, the system of Kalshi and Polymarket is sports gambling. That's just a factual, objective reality based on numbers. But then you bring it to the Venezuela situation. This is where it gets interesting. Because typically for something like, will the leader of Venezuela be in power by January 31? Who in their right mind is taking the opposite side of a bet there? What information are you bringing to bear to that question, right? If somebody has bet 30,000, yes, and you're like, oh, this is interesting, I'm going to take the other side of this pretty confident bet here, right? Right? This is such a niche long tail bet, but here's where it gets crazy. If you already have people doing 10-leg parlays, prop bets in Kalshi Polymarket, that type of individual probably has a lot of money on the platform, B is going to punt on insane odds. Maybe he just watched a documentary about Hugo Chavez. And it's like, you know what? I'm interested in this Venezuela thing. Let's see. Let's type in. You see what I'm saying? So like, typically there shouldn't be any liquidity on this type of bet. But because of all this sports betting, gambling activity, and individuals onto the platform, you've actually created a market of very low information liquidity that is willing to take a punt on these bets. I don't actually know if that's good or bad. My gut instinct is if Kalshi was 50% sports betting or 30%, and the other 70% was revealing information about the world, that's probably a net positive. But if it's 95% sports betting, and then people that are taking the other side of this, Venezuela bet are 5% of the market, do you guys see what I'm saying? It's like the other side of this bet wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the punters that are just gambling away on the sports. So it's an interesting situation.
But I guess, Trung, that's a separate question to the insider trading versus is this net good for society? I guess, right? Which is interesting.
You're right. That it is not direct. So let me actually bring something to the table which is directly related. New York Congressman Richard Torres just is going to table legislation saying that politicians cannot bet on these prediction markets or anything that their policies can directly intervene on. And again, this gets into the whole congressional stock trading issue that we've talked about here. But you're right, Bilal. So let me tie them closer together. The prediction markets, I think would be much closer to net positive if it wasn't just pure sports betting, which they kind of are right now. But having said that, it looks like you need some type of degen mechanism, which is allowing the equivalent of parlays on these platforms to provide liquidity for markets that would never exist. Like, why would you take the other side of a $30,000 bet? It's like, wow, this guy seems really confident that Maduro is not going to be the leader of Venezuela by January 31. I wonder what they know. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, some of these markets are crazy. I'm just on Polymarket. There's one for the closing price of Logan Paul's Pikachu.
yeah.
Which again is a crazy.
It's on the front page. I'm on it right now too.
Crazy mechanism for insider trading too.
What's the volume on that?
2.5 mil.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So he could take the other side of that and sell it to a friend, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's my general opinion on it is like it is freedom to transact, boys. It's interesting, new vectors for transacting. But there's Vitalik has written quite a bit about this too, like the net positive that it provides for truth seeking, but the negative externalities that introduces, like people always talk about like assassination markets with this, basically, like, will this person be alive on this date? There's things that can be directly affected by a single party that you don't want markets around, especially not like anonymous markets.
That's a good point.
It does feel like eventually this will, coalesce into the bigger players. Like I don't think the anonymous participation in these markets is going to be around for that long. Right? It was only going to take a couple of
sketchy
stories
things.
Yeah, exactly. I think will just force regulation in the other direction, and then there'll always be like the edges that pop up. But that's really like, it's kind of like the Bitcoin conversation, right? You have this thing that operates independently for decades, or a decade, I should say, and then slowly gets consumed into the bigger financial infrastructure. I think this stuff, largely is how that stuff plays out. So
I think it ends up being the thing we reference quite a few times here, which is, it when you see it. I know there's a lot more gray area, but you know what I mean? Like that one.
That's exactly
right. If people don't know the line,
Google Potter Stewart, U.S. Supreme Court Justice, and you will see in the intro of his bio.
Case. There you go.
Yeah, I know it when I see it.
Great reference.
It's true. Yeah, and it's kind of in this case. I think that when I studied two small modules of law back in the day at school as well, there was this thing called the reasonable man test or reasonable person test, whatever, where you kind of know, like, if you say out a scenario, like, okay, someone works within Tesla, they're about to do, announce something that's gonna that people can bet on Polymarket about the number of cars that were sold in Q4, which just came out. That would obviously be way more just like insider trading, but you're not using the stock. In this case, you're using Polymarket. That is a lot more obvious. I think it's the edge cases that really start to confuse it. So what one's this here, Jack? Is this Jack?
I just went on there's a tab on here, accuracy.
Oh yeah,
Polymarket.
this is sick.
95% accurate over 4 hours, 91% over a month. And the most interesting thing on here, I think, is this. Resolution composition, little Pareto principle here, guys. No, 79.6%. Yes, 20.4%. So 80% of markets resolve to no.
Interesting.
I don't know how they're doing that, because not every market is yes or no.
Yeah, that's
you're just extrapolating it. But also what I wanted to share, boys, England's second favorite to win the World Cup.
There we go.
Really?
Yo, since 13%. We're on it, you might as well click over to sports and go to Premier
Arsenal.
League.
Wait,
it's crazy.
Favorite to win the Champions League, huh?
Wait, who's favorite right now for World Cup?
Arsenal, 73% favorite for the Premier League, because we now have a 6-point lead after this weekend. Good week, fellas. It was a good start to the week. But Spain, 16%.
You know what's interesting?
Damn.
I wonder if Polymarket has like I wonder, maybe they can't do this for incentive, or for like conflict reasons, but it would be a great media entity, wouldn't it? Just the Polymarket channel going over all these markets and people commentating on the different odds and stuff. Because that's getting pulled into all other 100%. Broadcasts.
Imagine three idiots on the internet just talking about it every day. Like
Polymarket, we're listening. Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, this is mad though. England seems to be like a statistical anomaly, don't you think, Bilal? Like, there's nothing to indicate they should be second favorite based on their last couple of decades.
Well, I'd say this is actually interesting because for people only listening, Spain is 16% favorites, and then there's how many teams? England, France, both 13, Argentina 12,
32, huh?
Brazil 10, right? So that is closer to, if you go to Champions League, is similar because, again, since we talked about sports, this is a cup competition where so much can happen, right? Like from quarterfinal onwards, you just don't know. It's like a toss-up. Whereas the Premier League, if you go to that, Arsenal are now 73% favourites.
Oh.
It was versus because
once you get to that level, it's way higher likelihood, right?
Yeah, because in the league, it's 38 games, and you already you can look at the fixture difficulty. You got to play everyone twice. You can look at the size of the squad. Whereas in a knockout competition, it's way more just on the day something crazy happens. You know?
Well, guys, let me give a shout out to my Barely AI co-founder. He made something interesting as a side project. It's called Slipey.ai.
Yo, that's
basically,
a crazy name.
If you put any of your
Slipey,
paste your poly market or Kalshi bet, and AI will
legend.
do deep research. Will do deep research on it.
Can this do? Because one of the things I wanted to do, I don't know if this is legal or not, but someone can tell me. Is the arbitrage? Can it do that? Because that would be an amazing agent.
What do you mean the arbitrage?
Arbitrage, like if you take Betfair, like let's say football, because you can normally find value. Yeah,
that's smart, bro.
There must be. I mean, I'm sure there's people doing that, but now with Polymarket, the odds are different sometimes, and so I haven't done it properly. But when I used to do little bit of sports betting at college, you would be able to just find between different, like Bet365 for football versus Betfair, there'll be slightly different odds, and you can bet on both sides and basically have a small gain. But if you compare that, you can make like a 5-10% gain, which in stock market terms is a great return for the whole year. So I'm pretty sure with the liquidity of these new markets, there is probably opportunity there to do that. Again, I don't know if the legality of that. The other thing is Polymarket. I don't think you can actually use it in the US technically, right? I'm sure people do with VPNs
you can now.
or whatever.
Is it?
Is it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. It was like a month or two ago.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I need to get on there then, boys. There we go.
Get on there, mate. Be betting on everything.
Speaking of get on it, let's boogie to the next. Listen to the
All right, what we got
segment.
next? I mean, did you want to talk about energy, Trunk? It was related to...
Actually, the energy thing's interesting because obviously I'm up here in Canada, and a big question is about the oil from Venezuela, which has been talked about a lot. But I'll just give you kind of the broad TLDR. Have you guys followed any of the talk around the energy unlock for Venezuela? And we don't the official motive rationale behind this move was drug related, but Venezuela claims to have the largest proven reserves in the world of oil. Even more
we've
than
seen
Saudi
the Dave
Arabia.
Chappelle skit, right, Trunk? Do you remember that one? Yeah.
What? You talking about oil? Bitch, what we cooking? No, but that one came out too on the memes. Like the interesting thing, so very interesting question. So interesting. John Arnold, who is one of Enron's top traders, launched his own energy fund, became one of the youngest billionaires in America. He was not doing the sketchy Enron stuff. He was like a top level trader. He actually wrote up something interesting. Is the way that the reserves for Venezuela were reported was by their sovereign oil producer. So the numbers look like they might have been juked. So we don't even know if they are the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Having said that,
they're about to find out, Trump.
Yeah, it's definitely in the top 5. Almost certainly it's in the top 5. And then here's the interesting part. Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana and Texas. The refining capacity in America. Anybody here that watched Landman, you know about how important refining is. And this is just the most surface level, like read a couple tweets, my basic understanding of the energy markets. So please don't take this to the bank. Not investment advice for the love of God. But I mean, the energy stocks have been juking. And it's because I think it's 2007, Exxon and ConocoPhillips were kicked out of Venezuela. Hugo Chavez nationalized the oil assets. They were actually given an option to, I think, own 40% of the assets as long as they gave the remainder to Venezuela. And they said no. Chevron said yes. So PDVSA, which many people have probably seen, that is the state-owned oil and gas company for Venezuela. That Chevron's been operating in Venezuela for the past decade. So I think they own 40% of that operation, or maybe less. They got definitely bent over on these terms. But back to refining capacity. So Louisiana and Texas refines heavy oil. So heavy oil is thus called because there's a lot of impurities in it, metals, sulfur, and you need to refine it. And when people think about oil markets, Jack, have you ever heard of the term cracking? When you crack oil?
Cracking? No, I don't know.
So oil, there's like, just think about, the best way to think about carbon as energy is the amount of carbon stacked together. So you can have a lot of them, it's called 50 or more in a molecular unit, and that makes the equivalent of asphalt, right? So that's a solid. At the other end, when there's not as many, it's a gas or a liquid, right? So there's a spectrum of quote unquote oil. Oil is very heterogeneous. It's not homogeneous. Like when you go to the gas station, you see gasoline, you see diesel, and the two things to consider are the energy density, how much energy is in an amount of volume of fuel, and then energy density and how much can it flow. So some oil does not flow very well. As an example, the tar sands in Alberta, they don't flow very well. It has to be heated. So there's a very special technique used to heat the tar sands in Alberta to make it flow. But the point is that the Louisiana and Texas oil refineries are actually built specifically for the Venezuelan oil. And this is heavier, dirtier oil. And when you have access to that, that's good for the refineries because it can operate 100% capacity. So I give you all this background because 2 points. One is it's competitive with Canadian oil, so that's not great for the Canadian energy markets. But having said that, it's been so mismanaged in Venezuela. I read somewhere that it would cost $500 billion to $1 trillion just to get the Venezuelan capacity back online to a Canadian level. So it'd take probably a decade and $1 trillion. But the other thing to consider here is China is a big piece of it. China, because Venezuelan oil is restricted to where it can sell to, it's sanctioned. China doesn't care. It's happy to get it, right? It's a pure competitor to America. And they have refining capacity, massive refining capacity. But they only import 5% Venezuelan oil is only responsible for 5% of Chinese oil demand. However, because of the type of oil it is, dirty, heavy, it produces a lot of what ends up being asphalt for China. Something up to 30, 40, 50%. Call it 30 to 40% of the Chinese
Belt and Road
asphalt.
Initiative.
Exactly. So even though it's only 5% of total fuel, it is nearly half of what's required to build the roads, construction. So strategically, this is a massive shot across the bow. And the only other real access point is Iran for this type of oil. And instead of America having to play whack-a-mole with the Venezuelan oil, which can travel multiple ways, they can just close off the Strait of Hormuz, and that's it. That choke point's gone. So this article that kind of laid this out was shared by Michael Burry. He says, the Big Short guy, he has no idea who wrote this. The guy's name is the name of the Substack is Collapse Intelligence Agency. So I have no idea how accurate this is, but the broad outlines, Michael Burry did his vetting. He's got a big oil bet actually in Valero Energy, which does a lot of refining. He shared this, but the TLDR of this article is big strategic play and not investment advice. But the other interesting part is the guy that wrote this article doesn't even think the Trump administration realized the depths of this strategic play. They might have just literally like gone full on Monroe Doctrine, that we talked about here in the past year, when Canada as a 51st state, Trump talked about Greenland. It's all Western Hemisphere, right? This is stuff that we've talked about on this pod. They've talked about ad nauseum, the Trump administration. Like should not have been a surprise to a lot of people that this would be the type of activities that they wanted. But anyways, that's the energy angle that I found super interesting, especially coming from Canada.
So Trung, just interestingly, as we talked about Polymarket on the front page, this might not be related because I know there's other stuff going on, but the number one market is, will Khamenei be out a supreme leader of Iran? Which is interesting. It's gone up to 38%.
Going parabolic right now.
There you go. And that went from...
What's the volume?
Let's see
1.3 mil.
1.3 mil. And that was, in the beginning of January, my computer's not fully showing it, but it's below 20%, maybe 18%, gone up to 38%. Now, again, there's lots going on there. I'm not even following it properly. But just you mentioned Iran there, related to this energy thing, so there could be a little bit going on there as well.
100%.
But all right, that was great.
Let's move on to CES.
Let's get on to CES, but nice little breakdown. I enjoyed that chat, lads.
Well, here's another. I'll just say one more.
Go on, Jack.
One more thing. As I was just looking at that market that you talked about, Bilal, look, check this out. This is another thematically correct.
I did see that
for our pod here.
Yes.
An Israeli insider who only ever traded on June prior to the Israeli strike in Iran and made 150K, is now the largest holder of ES with 30K shares. Very fascinating.
Israel strikes Iran by January 31st. What's the 33% chance?
That's another interesting. So that's another interesting thing about the crypto rails that this runs on because of the account.
Right? Oh, you can follow.
Like a market.
Oh, that's true. Right. You can see who it was. It's like public.
You can see what they did, where they made money before. Do they have an edge? Like copy trading, in opaque markets is essentially impossible unless you're tracking Nancy Pelosi because she has to disclose those trades.
There you go. Damn, this is
so fascinating, man. Like markets are getting.
Dude, how did you find this, dude?
That was one of the top ones as well.
Go in the comments, man.
Okay. I was about to say.
Another fascinating thing.
Alpha's in the comments.
Massive UX change, right? Is like imagine Robinhood. Maybe they have. I haven't used it for a long time, but comments on stock charts. The social layer is.
You're so crazy
there is
about
edge
this.
There.
Read the sidebar. There's also a nothing ever happens 70.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Like the way. I mean, it's just so crazy. The internet is real life. It's not 100% mapped on, but oh my goodness, dude. Every single day, especially with this betting, the prediction market stuff. All right, but anyway, speaking of internet's not real life, let's talk about CES.
Let's go Boston. Do you want to go Boston Dynamics?
No, let's ask. Who's been to CES? Bilal.
I actually haven't. One of those things that I haven't actually been to. I always
Google,
kind of avoided
Google has a big thing there.
Yeah, a lot of people go, but my clients didn't used to go as much. I would be more like South by Southwest. I'd go to quite a lot. That was a bit more my vibe. But CES looks fun. I mean, but it's a bit of a shit show. Like so many people.
Oh, it's just so insane.
Did either of you two go?
I went one time. The reason I asked you was because we went with a Google colleague. And Google colleague. One of you and Sergey Brin's former colleagues worked at Google. And
yeah, what a ridiculous frame.
I know.
That's incredible.
But what I'm trying to say
Gotta
is
get it in once a week.
They invited us. We stayed at the Wynn. They had a room at the Wynn. Google be balling out at the Wynn.
Oh, yeah,
just blocked off a bunch of rooms. But I got somebody's there right now.
I did go to Vegas with Google. That was fun.
Yeah, it is. Dude.
Not for CES, but.
You want to go with Google to Vegas, right? So the big thing that came out yesterday, I'd probably say the Boston Dynamics thing. Do you want to just pull up that video that I added from Sawyer
I've got
Merritt,
it here. Let me.
Friend of the pod.
How long is this? A minute and 28. But
two things to add here. Every year, Boston Dynamics drops a video that looks really cool, but then nothing happens. Right? It's like it just and then why don't we play it?
Should we play it? All right.
Yeah. Nice music. So it's a 6'2" robot, weighs 200 pounds. And can just do stuff in the warehouse, right? And cars. They can build cars. Pretty damn cool.
This could be Jack, 2007, just in his car factory.
Wait, Jack, funny enough, you know who's actually using these robots right now? Hyundai. Your old employer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Honda, mine was.
Honda.
Honda, sorry. Well, Jack, let's
Close
ask
enough.
you. Jack, you're watching this. This literally was what you used to do in the I don't know if you did the frames, but do you think this is plausible? And two questions. A, is it plausible? And B, is this actually the right move? Is creating a humanoid form actually the correct thing to do for the warehouse environment? Or should it just be what a lot of other people are doing? You know, different type of robots. Why does it have to be a human form?
I think they're basically betting on the gap, right? I think some of the more modern auto manufacturers are already like removing that requirement from the manufacturing process. Like, I don't think a Tesla factory probably has the least humans per production line. So replacing the human is, I think this is betting basically on a different way to scale, which I think is an interesting frame too. Is like the world is built for humans. Instead of like redesigning your manufacturing from the ground up, you could do this, which feels like there's more applications than this than just automotive manufacturing too. And like remote operation and stuff like that. I think people are sort of betting on that to some degree. But yeah, I would, obviously they spend a lot of money on it. They know what they're doing. But the idea that every company in the world that manufactures like big things is going to rebuild their entire infrastructure seems like an even longer shot, no?
Well, this is what gives China such a huge advantage, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen some of these EV manufacturing in China. Exactly to Jack's point, they're building from scratch. They're not trying to rejigger an internal combustion engine manufacturing.
The factory
plant.
is the product.
Exactly. So this is actually so I can't believe who wrote this, but they made such a great point about Chinese manufacturing, which we've talked about here. A third of the world is manufacturing, might get up to 50% by 2030, high-end manufacturing. Basically, the writer of this article, I got to find it, but he said Apple taught Chinese manufacturers about quality, like what is high quality manufacturing. Tesla taught them about speed. So basically, Apple and Tesla over the past 15 years combined have handed China the high-end manufacturing playbook to succeed and dominate, which they do. And no one in the world manufactures like China. So you mentioned Tesla, largest, most automated in America for sure. But BYD, you should watch some of these freaking factory automation.
The cars are amazing. I haven't seen the factories, but the cars are unbelievable.
Google some of these videos about BYD factory. They're dark. Some of these factories are pitch black dark because they don't even need
nobody
light.
in there.
Oh, that's crazy. Don't even light.
Unbelievable.
It's just the robots have sensors, right? It's just
that's
like
crazy.
It's just so insane.
I think of that cost saving.
Well,
I don't know what percentage that is, but that's even if it's a 3% saving on electricity, makes a difference.
Well, here I'll give something else. Sorry, Jack. I'll add a point here, and then that to your point about Boston Dynamic. So if you actually look at Boston Dynamics robots, because the running joke about them is every year in December they release a video of a dancing robot and it goes viral. Does nothing for their business, right? And then over the last year, we've seen so many videos out of China. Unitree, which is the big robotics company out of China, doing the most insane dancing, martial arts. So I want to add one thing. Any of these videos that you see out of China, grain of salt it. You just have to. There's so much psyoping going on. They are ahead in robotics, but it's clearly a psyop. So is everything. Everything's a psyop, but the robotics thing in China is 100% a psyop, and it's to discourage competitors. It's like, how can we catch up to this, right? Similarly with the Boston Dynamics stuff, it's a different type of psyop. But if you look at Boston Dynamics, probably their biggest selling product right now is called Stretch. And you go to the Google Boston Dynamics Stretch videos. It's on YouTube, and it's basically a box, a semi-truck unboxing machine, and it looks nothing like a human. It's got wheels and it's got an arm with suction cups and vision. And DHL, the big logistics company, has an order for 1,000 of these things. And the whole point is, if you're working at an Amazon warehouse and you're unboxing a trailer in 50-degree heat, 50-pound boxes, that's an injury risk waiting to happen, right? So you're rejiggering this thing. So Boston Dynamics' top product looks nothing like a human. And me and Bilal a couple weeks ago talked about Amazon's big breakthrough. Their big breakthrough is not a humanoid robot. It's a gripping It's literally a gripping device, which can sense the difference between a book and a bag of Skittles. It can feel like hands can feel, right? It's like the amount of pressure to apply.
What are you laughing at there, Jack? What are you laughing?
I don't know. The book and bag of Skittles got me.
Skittles is a great comparison, yeah.
But yeah, I
like
think
people buying Skittles on Amazon.
Yeah,
that's where we're at there.
a single bag. I mean,
betting on Polymarket, getting drone delivered Skittles. That's where we're going to be.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I think the question. So I'll pass it to Bilal. Love his thoughts. Humanoid robot form. We talked about Optimus. Obviously, Tesla's future $8.5 trillion valuation, which is what Elon's $1 trillion pay package is pinned to.
Unlimited TAM.
Unlimited TAM, right? He literally said that he called Optimus's infinite revenue. There you go. You think space has a lot of revenue opportunity? He called Optimus robots infinite revenue. And again, it's in the
infinity adjusted EBITDA.
Yeah. So there you guys go.
Exactly.
I would say
no,
that
but
was
you're right, Trung.
one.
Yeah. No, I mean, Trung, to your point, maybe you guys already said this, but I'll just reference what I remember Elon Musk saying about this with why they chose the humanoid form versus not. Obviously, there's pros and cons on both sides, but he said that if we're already working as humans doing stuff, so let's not try to reinvent the wheel here. Let's just replace a lot of what humans do with the same format. Obviously, the other side of the argument is why start from there as a limitation. You can, build it from the ground up. So that example you said of like the thing looks like a semi truck or whatever, that makes a lot of sense. Because that
it doesn't look like a semi truck. It unpacks a semi truck, but same idea.
Unpacks. Sorry,
Yeah.
but it's not a humanoid, right?
Yeah, it's not humanoid.
So that makes sense, maybe for various different applications. But yeah, so for me, I don't know anything about it. But zooming out, I do think just looking at this year, looking at the Boston Dynamics thing and the NVIDIA thing we're about to come onto in a second, even what we've talked about last year, Waymo, like there's autonomous seems to be a big theme again. And we don't really do prediction episodes, but it's beginning of the year. So one of the things probably I'll be looking out for a lot this year is just that kind of story. I think
that's
if you look
stretch,
at,
by the way. So Bilal,
what is that? The Boston Dynamics one?
Yeah, that's the semi trailer.
Looks like a little shower head on it or something.
Yeah.
Portable shower head. But anyway, the interesting one I think is Amazon in that regard as well, because if you just look at big tech, like their PE ratio, I don't know off the top of my head, is trading below historical averages, especially for them. They haven't had a bullish story. Again, definitely not investment advice. I don't think they've been as bullish compared to, say, like Google last year, up 65%, whatever it was. But traditionally, if you believe in mean reversion, Amazon generally kind of figures it out. They're a pretty strong company overall.
Scott Galloway called it the big tech name of the year. To Bilal's point.
Okay.
So again, I know people always do the reverse Galloway, but he actually called Google last year also.
Yeah, he's actually got some pretty good. And even last year, I remember listening in the beginning of the year, he said about non-US stocks outperforming, and that actually did work. That was true last year. Non-US stocks, both Europe and like developing.
Top stock market was South Korea. And quickly, I'll add thing. None of this is investment advice.
Even the FTSE 100, even the UK stock market was outperformed the S&P. S&P still had a strong year. But,
let me add two things on that, Bilal. The social Kospi was a top performing market last year, 76%. Half of its performance was two stocks, SK Hynix and Samsung, because of AI memory data centers. 4 of the top performing S&P stocks last year were memory or data storage for AI. SanDisk was number 1. Micron. Here's a crazy thing about SanDisk.
250%.
SanDisk was 580. SanDisk is up 40% this year in 3 days. It's a top performing stock in 2026 already. Anyways, man, non-investment advice.
Talking of which, coming back, the callback, Venezuela stock market is up 75% or something since.
Not investment advice.
I don't even know how do you even get exposure to the Venezuelan? Is there like an ETF in Robinhood?
I'm sure
Polymarket, I bet.
Yeah,
I presume PVDSA or I'm butchering their national oil champion is probably like half that market.
Yeah, it's like Saudi Aramco or something, right?
Yeah,
Venezuela.
Exactly.
But anyway, very interesting. I guess that brings us on to NVIDIA too. And just want to reiterate, definitely not investment advice on Amazon.
Yeah, please, dude, for the love of God.
to see. More so, I'm just looking out for that story, because if you look at autonomous being a thing, and they're obviously, if you just look at Amazon stock as a business, they've had obviously the retail e-commerce business for a long time, not incredibly profitable, but like the largest volume. Then there's been AWS, very different dynamic there, and then what's the other big category? Oh, ads is the big category for them, right?
It's went from 0 to 60 billion in a decade.
Exactly.
Well, here, Bilal, let me. Have you ever run Amazon ads campaign for any of your clients?
Do you know what? I actually haven't. One of the things, haven't. But it's pretty similar, from what I know, to some of the other shopping platforms.
But it's a different part of the funnel, right? So at the bottom, it's at the purchase point.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know Jack's got to run, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, let's just finish off on NVIDIA then, yeah?
Actually, you know what? Let's skip the NVIDIA and do, because I want to talk to you about
and for people who can look it up, NVIDIA announced Alpamayo, I don't know how to say it, which it calls the first thinking model and reasoning model for autonomous vehicles. We can maybe talk about it later, but just so people know that's going on. What do you want to talk about?
I was just going to say the delivery, the super viral delivery. So, because I think this is germane to the conversation, is so DoorDash and Uber Eats, they actually catch a lot of heat for, good reasons. DoorDash was caught not paying its tippers the tip amount. Do you remember that scandal? And
what's that? Because I noticed the change in the app. I don't know if that was just in New York. But
apparently, there was a period of time when the tip amount was actually not going to the deliverer. And then
that's
Uber has done a lot of regulatory arbitrage, as we well know. First, as a car, as a taxi service, they just go into a market and just wait to get sued, right? So, and then they also did stuff where they were following journalists, like literally journalist accounts, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So these are not 100% pure actors to begin with. Secondarily, there's a narrative that me and Bilal talked about. Well, Bilal, do you still DoorDash or Uber Eats a lot?
A little bit, like once every week or two.
Yeah, it's just, the reality is, yes, we're lazy and they charge a ton, right? Like it's obscene.
Yeah, the fees add up. I think I did it when we came back. It was like $40 for food for just pad Thai, normal Thai delivery, and it was like $58 with the fees. It's crazy. It's quite a big jump. Obviously, taxes on top, and then a tip or whatever you're given. So quite a big difference versus going 5 minutes down the road. You get it for not a quarter of the price, 75%.
100%. I think somebody put a hysterical tweet. It's like the most basic IQ test in the world is, will you pay $50 for a hamburger, or will you walk a minute and pay $5?
Walk a minute, yeah, for real. Sometimes you need that delivery though, man.
That's true,
it's
right?
cold outside.
No, this is what I'm saying. It's shout out to anybody. I'm always very happy to tip, because I know these jobs don't pay the best, and you get a lot of shit from the apps, and you get a lot of shit from the customers. So that's the truth. Having said that, people were primed for an insane story to come out. So last week, I think this was one of the top stories on Reddit. I think I saw numbers like 30 million people saw on Reddit, and then another 30 saw it on X when it was reposted. But the story was basically, there's an insider at one of these companies. He didn't say who. He's like, hey, I work for, this is in the confession subreddit. He's like, I work for delivery app. I'm under an NDA, and I'm writing this message from a library Wi-Fi so they don't catch me, right? So I'm using the local library PC so they don't catch who I am. And some people are already suspicious from the message, but the thing that really hit out was there was something called a desperation score. So basically, if you were a somebody that would deliver food and you were accepting low-paying jobs, like you're delivering this $5 hamburger to Trung Phan at 11 p.m. I've never done that, by the way, but just as an example, the app.
What about end of the night, Trung? Have you done that? When it's left outside?
I'm not gonna lie. I've done some McDonald's.
We all done it.
2 a.m. McDonald's.
Will you wake up and it's still there? That is the saddest
it's still
Happy
at the
Meal
door.
you left outside. Fillet of fish, 8 a.m.
It's 100% happened. And then you kind of look around, see if anybody's watching, and you just take a bite of it anyways. You don't care.
Just, cold fillet. That just to know, if you're ordering fillet of fish already, that's bad. But delivery at 2
Well,
a.m.
First of all, if it's overnight, it's refrigerator conditions in outside, right?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So, but the desperation score really lit up the internet. It's like, oh my God, these apps are terrible. It's like they're targeting these drivers, like they're giving them low-paying jobs because they know they need the money. And I mean, it was awful. Like when you read it, right? And then the Tony Su, the CEO and founder of DoorDash, responded on Twitter straight up, "This is not us. Whoever's doing this is terrible, XYZ." But the thing I'll add is this. The larger point I'm trying to make here is that this is the question of AI creating hoaxes and slop, because a tech reporter, Casey Newton, reached out to the writer of this post. And I read his article, and I was already suspicious of it. A lot of people were. There's like, the writing was a little too insider baseball-y, and it sounded like somebody that wanted to make up this story would do. It's like, if you ever worked at big tech, you just wouldn't use some of the language that they had. And it turns out when this individual, this whistleblower, quote unquote, was pressed, they sent Casey Newton an AI generated photo of an Uber Eats badge. And then they sent an 18-page internal doc, and I'm saying internal doc in air quotes, because it looked very credible at first, but once you start reading the doc, it was like, it just doesn't make sense. This is not something that a big tech company would do internally. There's like a lot of red flags. It's like, this is level 6 security clearance. If you don't have this security clearance, you can't read this document. So people started poking at it. Anyways, it's all, go to a platformer. It's all on there. You can decide for yourself if you believe the story or not by reading through the doc. But the point that Casey Newton was making was, before AI, if somebody had sent me an 18-page internal doc, right, is like, this can't be faked. It's like, this is the way it looks. It's 80% there. This would not be fake. You generate this with Claude Code in 5 minutes now. So the NAA aspect of this is, man, we got to keep our radars on. And I think the default thing for these insider stuff now, without hardcore evidence, corroborated, which is what this guy didn't do, the apparent whistleblower. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think this is an interesting NIA edge of the internet story. Any thoughts, Bilal?
No, it's a great point. I just saw the headline on it. I think the point around the default being you should be suspicious in general, anything you're reading. And I'd say on all sides of the spectrum here, basically most of the stuff I'm reading on X, I rarely will go and click and actually read. Yeah. But so I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. But the more I'm seeing, like even pretty credible, I don't want to say credible people, prominent people sharing stuff often is completely like off. And like, I do love the Grok feature where people will fact check it, or like obviously community notes as well. But the problem is sometimes like tens of millions of people already read it and it's already kind of spreading.
The Grok does it, the community notes does not come soon enough. Man,
Exactly.
I'll give you an example. The oil stuff I was talking about earlier, this is me skimming X feed, right? And like my basic knowledge of energy markets is, I need to go further into this. But I mean, listen, no one's coming to NIA for NIA podcast. I meant investing advice. You're coming here for me to talk about Bilal's former colleagues at Google once a week. Jack to give his insights. Bilal to give his marketing insights. Nobody wants our investing insights.
Exactly. So even myself. So yeah, anything else? Trying before we wrap it up here.
Bilal's gonna short Amazon after this episode. After saying that.
Yeah. No, but it's true actually. I'm trying to think. I probably have some Amazon from like 10 years ago plus, but I don't think I've sold that. But I'm not especially buying anything, to be honest. So apart from the energy. No, I'm joking. Let's just see. We'll talk about it in a future episode. All right, I think we can call it here.
Yeah, we can call it here.
For next week, maybe we'll see if we want to talk about Lego Smart Brick. Oh, actually, sorry. The last thing on that, Trung, was the thing we didn't get to was the Nick Shirley citizen journalism thing about the Minnesota. Yeah, we can. I mean, so we don't need to talk about it too much.
That would have been fun with Jack. Edge of the internet
The only reason I'm saying in relation to it was, I think we're kind of coming full circle around. Forget that particular story, but I think if you look at people's trust of media, we've gone from this one side of, anytime you lose your credibility as a journalist, like a lot of the stuff I read in the mainstream media, like most people, you're a little bit like, oh, what angle is this coming from? Most of it's politically coded. and finding anyone who's trying to be objective is really difficult. But what's interesting is this sort of stuff, whether it's what he did, I didn't even look at the full video. But this idea of like real old school journalism, forget him, but just there is a real value in people spending a long time, looking at sources, trying to figure out what the incentive is for people to lie. And then for actual process, I'm not a fan of process generally, but real process to weed out bad journalism where something just kind of spreads. And so, yeah, in an age of like headlines, we need a bit more of that. And so anyone who's actually trying to find objective truth, that is obviously very important. It used to be that's what the whole point of journalism was. And then when we've gone to clickbaity things, we've lost a little bit of that. But I'm sure there are. So
I'll give a example. I'll finish this to balance out what you said, Bilal. Is like so a lot of the quote unquote citizen journalists that are posting about the Venezuela situation, they're basing almost all of it on original reporting from the major organizations, right? We need both now, and the beauty is we have access to both. And the interesting thing's actually going to happen. I think we talk about here's the barbell effect: is you have citizen journalists, but they don't have the legal and research capacity of a New York Times.
Yeah, you need the
so you're going to get
resources.
It's really gonna, you know what I mean? It's like I'm sure Nick Shirley, who was exposing or the videos that he made about these Minnesota daycares, he's gonna probably see legal heat, right? On top of the fact of death threats. Apparently, he has a security team now. So like, there's that, and the New York Times ability to do deeply reported things with a legal team. Same New Yorker, New York Magazine. So it really is bifurcating a bit. But like the Minnesota or the Minnesota Star Daily or the LA County Register, those papers, the things in the middle, are further and even more going to drift away. Right? It's like you just can't. There's no audience for it.
They don't necessarily have the resources, but they might still have bureaucracy. You need like speed and resources.
Exactly.
It's hard to get both.
Full barbell. But amazing start to the year.
Yeah, great to be back.
Not amazing about the world, but amazing to be back.
Well, there hopefully are some good things happening as well. And
nothing.
Good to be back.
It's just
of course, the Venezuela
stuff. Too
early
early to express an opinion in 2026.
Definitely, yeah. Well, let's make it a good one, everyone. And great to be back. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.